Merry Christmas, Grace. I hope that you have a beautiful Christmas this year with your brothers and your mom and your dad. Whoa, that was Gracie. See Gracie. Hey, Gracie. And here's Ollie. They say Merry Christmas too. I wanted to read you one of my favorite Christmas books, and it's a story that I grew up with when I was little, and it's actually a dance. And I know that you love dance and dancing, so I thought you might like this story. It's called The Nutcracker. Okay, so the book is called The Nutcracker, and it's also a ballet, and it's about a little girl named Clara. She's on the right there. And she has a dream filled with candy and cookies and dancing and magical snow. So I'm going to read you the story. And you're going to hear some music in the background. And that is the music that goes to the Nutcracker Ballet. It was Christmas Eve, and snow fell silently on the ground inside. It was warm and cozy. The air filled with the smell of gingerbread. Clara could hardly wait for Godfather Drosselmeyer to arrive for the party. There's Clara in her pretty red dress, waiting by the tree. And look, there's a cat. As if on cue, a door burst open. A poof of snow settled on the stoop. There was Godfather Drosselmeyer, with his flowing cape and curly mustache. "Merry Christmas," he bellowed, and scooped Clara up in one great big hug. Godfather Drosselmeyer was a famous toy and clockmaker. He made a toy out of anything, even an empty spool of thread or an old bottle cap. Now the children gathered around as he reached under his cape and produced one bright package after another. How fun is that? There's Clara and her cousins, and they're all getting toys. And there's a daddy with a glass of wine, and a mommy, and she's got a glass of wine too. Yay. And they've got a fire, and here's Ollie on my lap. He wants to help me tell the story. "Thank you," the children cried as they tore open their gifts. Clara's brother Fritz got a wooden toy sword. Anne got a lovely doll with sparkly fairy wings. And Ben got a wind-up mouse that was so fuzzy and gray it almost looked real. But Clara knew her present was the best of all. It was a toy soldier. But not just any toy soldier. If you put a nut between its teeth and pulled the lever in its back, it cracked the shell right open. "Oh, thank you," breathed Clara. "I love it." And there she is with her toy soldier. And she's saying thank you. And all the kids are playing together on Christmas. Clara passed the Nutcracker around for everyone to see it and try it. But Fritz grabbed it and shoved a walnut between its teeth. That's a nut. He pulled the lever down hard. Snap! The shell cracked in two, and so did the Nutcracker's jaw. Oops. Looks like he kind of broke. "Fritz," cried Clara, "you've broken it." She cradled the injured toy in her arms. With a flourish, Godfather Drosselmeyer stepped in. He pulled out a handkerchief and tied it around the Nutcracker's head. "That should do for now," he said. "Tomorrow, I'll get my tools and I'll fix him properly. But now, Mother says it's time for bed." After saying goodnight to the party guests, Clara gave the Nutcracker a kiss and placed him gently under the Christmas tree with all the other toys. Then, reluctantly, she went upstairs to bed. But try as she might, Clara couldn't sleep. Late that night, she tiptoed back downstairs and curled up beneath the tree, the Nutcracker snug in her arms. Finally, she drifted off. Do you have trouble sleeping on Christmas Eve? I know I do. Ooh, what's happening here? Clara woke with a start in the night. The grandfather clock chimed loudly. She glanced around and rubbed her eyes. Something incredible was happening. The tree was getting larger. Larger and larger it rose right before her eyes. As the tree grew, so did the toys beneath it. Soon, Clara was standing face to face with the Nutcracker. Can you imagine? They're the same size, Grace. And then something even stranger happened. An army of mice marched from behind the sofa, led by a very, very fuzzy gray mouse. Atop his head sat a golden crown. Clara stared, then shook herself. The mice were strutted straight for her. Suddenly, the Nutcracker moved. He pulled a sword from his side and marched forward, shielding Clara from the mice and leading the toys into battle. Clara gasped as the Nutcracker and the Mouse King dueled. That means they fought. But the Nutcracker's wooden sword was no match for the mouse's shiny metal one. Clara had to do something. She looked around. There was no time. She tore off her slipper from her foot and threw it at the Mouse King with all her might. Ooh, looks like she got him. Look at that. And see her little slipper? The Mouse King crumpled to the ground, and the crown went spinning to rest beside him. Clara couldn't believe her eyes, for as the Mouse King fell, the Nutcracker magically transformed into a prince. Where's his crown? It said it crumpled to the floor. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. See the crown? And the cat's looking there. And all the other toys are watching. They can't believe what happened. Now he swept the Mouse King's crown from the floor and placed it on top of Clara's head. "Thank you," he said. "I've been trapped in the shape of a Nutcracker for as many years as I can remember. But your bravery has broken the Mouse King's spell. Now I'm free." Clara didn't know what to say. She reached up and touched the golden crown on her head, then looked down to see that her nightgown had turned into a magnificent gown. Ooh. The prince held out his hand. "Would you come with me to my kingdom, the land of sweets?" "Oh, how lovely," Clara said as she took the prince's hand. Together, they stepped out into the snowy night where a horse-drawn sleigh waited. As the sleigh pulled through the land of snow, the stars sparkled like diamonds in the sky. Dazzling snowflakes danced all around them. Look, who's in the sky? You see that? And there they are, riding through the snow in a sleigh. Before long, the carriage pulled up to a marvelous castle built with cubes of sugar instead of bricks. The gates surrounding it appeared to be made of peppermint sticks. Clara blinked in disbelief. Look at those gates, made of peppermint. "This is where I live, the Marzipan Palace," said the prince. A beautiful girl appeared before him. "And this is the Sugar Plum Fairy." "You've been missed, dear prince. Welcome home," said the Sugar Plum Fairy. Then she turned to Clara and smiled. "Welcome to the land of sweets," she said. The prince explained how Clara had saved his life by bravely defeating the Mouse King. Now the Sugar Plum Fairy took Clara's hands in her own. "We must have a feast," she declared. "A great banquet in your honor with delicious food and wonderful dancers." Clara and the prince had barely sat down when the festivities began. First, waiters wheeled out an enormous box of chocolates. But when the lid was removed, 2 Spanish dancers leapt out, clicking their castanets. Do you know what castanets are? So look at these little dancers. Here's the Spanish dancer man, and he's got something black in each hand, and the phone is a little bit fuzzy trying to focus. But so does the Spanish dancer, the woman. And they click them and it goes. And then the Spanish dancer, the man, and he's got something black in each hand, and the phone is a little bit fuzzy trying to focus. But so does the Spanish dancer, the woman. And they click them and it goes. And then the Spanish dancer, the man, and he's got something black in each hand, and the phone is a little bit fuzzy trying to focus. But Look at this feast they're having with all the cakes and ice creams and beautiful stuff, candies. A giant teapot was then pushed into the room. Clara peered at it cautiously. 3 graceful Chinese acrobats sprang from it and whirled dramatically across the floor. Next, a huge cup and saucer appeared. Clara leaned forward just as 4 Arabian dancers jumped out, followed by a troupe of Russian performers who crossed the room in dazzling jumps and kicks. Clara clapped until she was breathless. Here's Clara at her special table of sweets, seated next to the prince, who was the Nutcracker. There's some guys dancing by the fire, the Russian dancers. There's a chef in the background with another cake to bring in. After a short pause, Mother Ginger appeared. She wore an enormous skirt, and Clara giggled in surprise as 6 French children scampered out from beneath it. Clara drew in her breath, amazed as the children spun like candy-colored tops around the room. They kind of look like peppermints, don't they? All in different colored dresses. And there's Mother Ginger in her big gingerbread dress. Do you like gingerbread cookies? I love them. Finally, a dozen girls wearing brightly colored rose petal dresses performed an enchanting waltz. As the dance ended, the Sugar Plum Fairy came forward. The prince joined her, and the 2 danced a magnificent duet. There they are. Each time the Sugar Plum Fairy spun around, her sparkling skirt and wings cast the moonlight and prisms around the room. As the festivities wore down, Clara stifled a yawn. She was tired. "It's time we took you home," the prince told her softly. "I don't want you to leave just yet," Clara said sleepily. But as she spoke, her eyes began to close. The prince picked her up and carried her out to the waiting sleigh. He placed her gently inside and whispered something in the horse's ear. In an instant, the sleigh was whisking Clara home through the freshly fallen snow. Look at that. There are lollipops in the ground. Oh. And jelly beans on the ground. What do you think that water tastes like in the fountain? I bet it's not water. Do you think it's... Pop? Punch? There's the spotted horse in the sleigh. And here's Clara again, safely in her bed. On Christmas morning, Clara woke up in her own warm, cozy bed. Her beautiful gown had turned back into a nightdress, and when she reached up for the crown, there was nothing there. Then Clara noticed a flash of red beside her. It was her Nutcracker, without the handkerchief, and he was perfectly whole. Clara scooped him up and hugged him close. Though she never told a soul about her adventure, she hoped in her heart that every Christmas Eve might be as magical as this one. And that's the end. I hope you enjoyed that story, The Nutcracker. Merry Christmas.